So here's the plan. I am going with a couple friends to a legal grow facility in Michigan. We get to take a whole tour, and they have said that I can bring you guys along to film and show what's going on. This isn't sponsored or a review or anything. We're just gonna check out what they do and how they do it. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. I've never seen a place like this, and I'm hoping some of you haven't either. So check it out.
Start talking like a German accent.
Bus time, about to take off.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm Shar, the president of the Cake House Battle Creek. We opened in 2022. We're proud to be celebrating 4 years, especially in how wicked the market is right now. There's so many operators out there that are just really struggling to make ends meet. And we're blessed that we have really, really good partners like Growing Pains and Seth Miller. He's the founder of Growing Pains, one of the founders. He's personally hosting the tour as well as me. And I think it's important to note that because, you know, we're both founders of the company. You're not getting somebody that is just a paid tour guide, you're getting us. And a lot of the reason you're getting that is because we love what we do. What we see is the next evolution in cannabis in Michigan is cannabis tourism.
We're in the suits.
I like all the Indiana people. I love the Indiana.
I got my suit on, ready to go.
We will start on the old side. I'll show you these rooms. Again, you guys will see kind of where we started, the adjustments we made going into the new side. Again, if you have questions, stop me. Everybody ready to go? Vegetative rooms that we have. The plants growth stage are it's either in veg, and what dictates whether it's in veg or flower is the amount of light, or excuse me, really the amount of darkness that the plant gets over 24 hours. So in here the plants get 18 hours of light, they get 16 hours of darkness. That forces the plant to continue to veg, which basically what that means is it's going to continue to produce root mass, continue to produce size and shoots. Overall, the plants, you know, will get larger, but will never trigger into that flowering stage where we're seeing bud production and everything like that. So what you're seeing in here right now, we've got what we call production stock plants over here. Everything over here and everything that's up top on this upper.
Oh, I didn't even see the up top.
Plants that are production. So that's going to be kind of the starting phase of what you see as we're going into these flower rooms. Everything else you're seeing, plants over here, plants right here, everything on that bottom double stack. These are all mothers, future mothers, or just genetics that we're holding over there. We hold about 65 genetics here. So everything we're holding on that lower table over there is our genetics that right now are not going into a flower room that we need to keep back in order to be able to rotate those things in later. Even though this isn't like the quote-unquote sexiest room to look at, super important part of your operation. Your only really as good as your weakest link, so you got to make sure, you know, as far as your moms go, everything stays healthy, so when you take your cuttings, everything's good with clones, healthy clones lead to a healthy flower.
What's the white residue that's left over?
Great question. You're going to see that throughout the day. So the white residue you're seeing on these leaves is micronized sulfur. So just for the same reason that we're wearing suits and we're wearing booties, that's all part of what we call integrated pest management, pest and fungus management protocols. It's the same thing. We spray our plants every 3 days. You're proactively taking steps to avoid having issues. So let's say somebody, whether it's me or anybody else, comes in and you brought something in on your clothes that was unbeknownst to you. As long as we are spraying things every 3 days to keep everything at bay, straggler bug or fungus or whatever could come in, but because we're not being reactive, waiting for a problem to happen, we're being proactive, spraying all of these sprays that have been approved by the state. hydroponic medium. So, how many strains do you have in production? In production, like 25. Yeah, so we run some stuff, multiple times. If you guys haven't tried the Lance from us or from High Tech or Peninsula Gardens, the Lance is probably, in my opinion, one of the best strains out right now as far as the flavor that it produces, like the way it translates into joint, bone, whatever. So something like the Lance will run every other room, because it's in such high demand. Whereas, like I said, there's a lot of these strains that either we haven't ran yet or like we only bring up once or twice a year because that's about the cadence they move at. So the amount of water we use in a day at the facility is about 3,500 gallons across all rooms. So yeah, there's a lot of water. Keep going down. Don't worry, you'll get plenty of time to see it.
Oh man. Yeah.
Everything in here will get cut down, frozen, and then we'll go into our, basically our mixing tanks, do a solventless extraction out of everything. So
The light in here is crazy. I don't want to touch anything.
take care of those, pass those on.
Still fucking fire in here.
Walk through the building today, you're going to see 4 rows in every room. We have 1 strain per row. Here we have 2 per row, right? The reason again is we're going to wash the entire room, and so we're just trying to have, when we drop rods in, we're trying to have a full menu. So we're trying to have something that you can kind of pick and choose what you like.
It is hot in here.
So just to give you guys some context, this room is like 35 days into flower. We'll take this room another 25 days. Okay, so the plants will continue to get bigger. Again,
Another 25 days after they look like this?
You look at a plant like this right here that's filling out, got big flowers, and you look at something like the crunch berries, it just shows the difference in genetics. They're in the same room, getting the same stuff, right? Obviously, you can tell differences just on smell profiles and things like that, but from a cultivation standpoint, there's a lot of different nuance that you got to factor in when you're trying to pair everything up.
This was definitely worth 80 bucks. Your climate control bill must be crazy.
Oh, you don't want to know what that is. This is a room that you guys notice we have under canopy lighting. So that is kind of a new thing in the cultivation area, in the industry. Artificial lighting, because these canopies are so dense, it's hard for light to get through the canopy to some of the lower buds. So we put those in like the first week of flower. That way you're kind of getting this sandwiching effect where you're not having to cut all these buds off the bottom, off the plant in order to get light down. That's under canopy lighting wasn't a thing. You would take all of your plant up until really this first screen, and all of these buds right here would get cut off. But because we have enough light now to bring underneath, you're able to get that extra flower on the bottom, and also make sure they're not getting a mixed colored bag where everything up top is purple and then everything down below is green. So we've all seen the flower when we go to a deli jar where you're like, yeah, give me those purple frosted nugs and leave out that green shit. Behind us, kind of classic. That one we don't run nearly as much. Like I was telling you guys in the bedroom, we rotate a lot of plants. Some of them only get rotated 1 or 2 times per year. That's one of them. Great plant. Smells really nice, but as I'm sure you guys know, we all want something new and we all want something that somebody else doesn't have. Right? If I can get it from anyone, there's no real value to it. We bring in a lot of genetics. Before we can throw those in like a whole row and throw out 20, 30, 40 pounds, with a permanent marker, and I want you guys to take a look at the first 3 plants on this next row and tell me what you think when you smell them. So I want you guys to smell these first 3 plants, okay? Get a good pinch on that, and go on that. You can touch them on, that's fine. Just don't molest it, okay? So again, you'll see throughout, some of these plants will fade really hard, like you're seeing here, you're getting a lot of color and whatnot. Some plants, it's just how they utilize nutrients. So some plants will bleach out and use nitrogen at a lot faster rate than phosphorus and potassium. Some don't. So you're going to see different finishes. Obviously, genetically speaking, some of these plants just finish at a different age range. You got some that are ready at 57, 58 days, some that want to go 70 days. Unfortunately for us, you know, we're on such a cadence, on such a schedule that like those 70-day plants ain't go 70 days. So sometimes if they're not good enough, they just get pitched out. The plant that like we love here that really needs 70 days is honey banana. But to be honest, honey banana smokes a lot better when you take it earlier. So it's not like the prettiest weed. For those of us that have tried it, that's not what we're about. You know, like bag of peel's great. We want to have awesome bag of peel, but we are in the business of trying to curate an experience when you smoke weed that's like, man, smell the bag of weed, I'm excited to get it home, I get it home, rolling it up, it smells good. The last thing I want is by the time I smoke that, that it tastes like smoke. You know, be harsh to like, be like, all right, what happened? You know, so that's a big thing for us is we've had a lot of genetics that smell great, look great, did not translate, right? And those we do not keep around. Kind of some of the finer parts in this room right here that I want to explain. So this room right here is going into its 3rd week of flowering. So it was somewhere, I think, like 15, 16 days. This room, we had an issue in the last 2 weeks where CO2 supplementation, which is really important. We did not have CO2 coming into like any of these rooms for 2 weeks. This is again kind of one of those nerdier principles, but there's something called Liebig's Law, which is the law of minimums, right? Which is when you're running these systems, you can only operate at the capacity of whatever your weakest link in the chain is, right? So we haven't had CO2 in here. Typically at this stage in the room, you won't see any table space. There'll be none of this, right? But because we didn't have CO2, these plants basically got stalled out for 2 weeks. I say this as kind of a point of vulnerability, but also to kind of tell you guys, like, there's so many things that have to go right at every turn in order to have that great bag of weed that we go to buy off the dispensary, right? Like even with that, as consumers, we all know it can be a great bag of weed the day it hits the shelf. If that bag of weed's been sitting there for too long, it's no longer a great bag of weed, right? So just again, the importance of all the steps as you're going in this process, you know, that nothing gets missed anywhere. We've got, that should be, yep, the oranges over there, that's a new strain for us. Lance right here, kerosene candy right here, and soap over at the end. It's our goal to just, every time we have a menu that comes up and we drop into stores, you're seeing pretty much a different thing for the next 2 months, all the time. With the exception, again, of plants like the Lance, something that just everybody likes. As you guys can see, we're irrigating everything, right? We don't come in here with a water pitcher and water all these things, right? No way we can do that. We could be running in circles all day. So it's really important that you're getting plants that are symmetrical and look pretty much the same, every plant. Because what happens is when we bring these into a room, we're no longer feeding anything on an individual basis. Everything is getting fed as a zone. And if we have a plant that's up here versus a plant that's down here, those are going to have different metabolic rates. It's really important from the time we go to clone those plants, when we're in our vegetative room, that we're getting all plants that have about the same size thickness of the branch. They're all the same length. When they come out of the clone room, we're picking all of the plants that are at the same cadence. If we have something that didn't root as well and is a little bit slower to take water, we're not keeping that plant. You know, so for that reason, we're always taking too much, right? We need 90 plants for a row. We're going to take 120, and then with the extra 30, we're just going to kill those off. Those 30 are lagging behind. They're not keeping up. And then at the next stage, okay, cool. Let's say instead of killing 30, kill 20. All right, we got 10 extras to play with. Down to the next stage, we kill more off, right? So by the time you're getting into your rooms, everything is at that same level. Questions in here?
You prune them? Is there any pruning?
Yeah. So we will prune pretty much. We come in with like our hand and pretty much go from the base to the top.
Okay.
Right? So the reason we prune, despite having the under canopies, is airflow.
Yeah.
Right. We'll pack in these rooms with a lot of plants. It gets pretty stuffy, so you got to make sure you have air lanes. You know, somewhere for this air to mix around.
I was gonna say, we got like a lot of water lines. Do you guys ever have to like clean them or have issues like that?
A lot of what? These lines?
Like the
Yeah.
water
Yeah,
lines.
so we'll change those twice a year. Everything gets flushed at the end of harvest, right? So we'll run a cleaner. It's like an acidic cleaner through everything. Pretty much these rooms, when we chop them down, we chop them on a Monday. Everything gets taken out, vacuum everything and whatnot. They get sprayed down with like what's called a biofoamer. Okay, we pretty much disinfect all the surfaces. Everything gets ran through all the lines and whatnot. So you're cleaning the entire environment, and by the next day, you gotta load it back up. Everything is very scheduled. We're scheduled for everything for the next year. Right? I can tell you what strains we're running, what days they're coming down, what days we clone them, what days we're cleaning, all that stuff. There's just so much shit going on, and you have to operate these things on a fairly lean scale. We've got these sensors here, you'll see on the tables. Those are plugged into your media. That's telling you, all right, this rockwool slab has this much percentage of water left in it. It has this much fertilizer in it, right? So those are all things that we're monitoring every day. All right, we need more fertilizer. Hey, we need more water. You know, we need to let them dry down less. We need to let them dry down more. Again, these are all the nuanced details. It's just all these things that have to be checks and balances all the way down. Yeah, there's a lot to manage from just a system standpoint. 1,500 gallons each. So again, we go through about 3,500 gallons of both sides a day. That clicking you were just hearing here a minute ago, that is our fertigation system. So like 6 people running both buildings here, everything has to be automated as much as it possibly can. You can't be doing anything that otherwise a machine basically can be doing for you. So mixing nutrients is one of those things. Back in the day when we were all caregivers, you had a big barrel like one of these, poured your A and your B in, you mix it around, you adjusted your pH and fed your plants. Once we got to a scale like we're at now, again, now everything from automation with the drip feeding and whatnot to nutrient mixing has to be done by a machine. So these, I guess you call them machines, but basically this blue housing that you see all the way up and down here has a piston in it. That piston is driven by water pressure. So right there, you're hearing the pump behind you over there kick on, that's feeding water up and around and into these systems. These systems all have a dial on them right here that you're adjusting the strength of the fertilizer that you're feeding. When that water pressure comes on, that forces that piston to start going up and down, to start drawing fertilizer up from these stock concentrate tanks. If I was to take this fertilizer and go feed that to one of these plants, the plants would die. It's just so concentrated. It's got to be diluted with water. So it draws up from fertilizer 1, mixes in here, goes to the next one, mixes in here. Okay.
Oh, man.
That all comes down here. Each one of these valves here feeds a room that goes down here. So we've got 4 dosatrons here, right? The 4 dosatrons are pretty much set up high feed, medium feed, low feed, clean one. Based on the stage of the plants, we've got what we try to break down into like 3 stages of the plant. We've got the first 3 weeks of flower, known as our stretch period. We're gonna take a plant that's small, we're gonna put it into flower, we're gonna extend the darkness cycle from 6 hours of darkness in the veg rooms to 12 hours of darkness in the flower rooms. Those plants now in those first 3 weeks are gonna be like a child going through puberty. Wanting to eat everything, they're sleeping all the time, right? They're growing, still rooting in, they're developing root zone, they're developing size this way, they're putting on flower sets, etc. So that's what we feed our high feeds to, right? They need a lot to grow at that rate. Once we get past those first 3 weeks, it goes down into the medium feed. Medium feed we kind of call our bulking phase, right? That's when the flower sets have been put on. They're seeing like little cotton balls and everything. Now you're gonna start to see that stem disappear. Those flowers are gonna begin to swell. After we get through that phase, now we're coming down to our low feed, right? Now we're starting to taper feed because we're no longer bulking. We're starting to finish, right? We're ripening, if you will. So we're going to our ripening phase, and then from a ripening phase, the clean line, that does not get used. That's just for like tables and things like that. We feed our plants all the way through. So those things are clicking all day.
Yeah.
That's the noise as we grow. So everything in here, again, you'll notice not rush. So we give everything 2 weeks for drying in here. Once we get through the 2 weeks, then everything gets toted up and then sent over in here to the trim room behind us. Where, like I said, we got about 20 trimmers trimming full time to get this stuff all down. We don't use any machine trimmers. You see the machine over here. The only thing we use the machine for is all the smalls. Take our smalls, all of our smalls go into our pre-rolls. Because of how meticulous we are with trying to trim, everything gets trimmed on the stem. And as a byproduct of that, you know, it takes the trimmers a lot longer to do it that way. So that is why we use the trimmer on the smalls. Value of the smalls is not worth what we would have to pay to go through and trim all those smalls. So those get trimmed up, grinded down, packed into all of our pre-rolls. We don't use any shape. You know, we're an operator in the industry. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in some ways where people are saying they're doing flower pre-rolls, but it's 50%, 50% trim, or 80%, you know, whatever. We've tried to in the last few years, like really be more selective about what goes into all of our bags. Take as many of the smalls that are not going to make the cut size-wise, and then put those in pre-rolls so that you're at least getting a quality product for a pre-roll as well. We got honey banana over there. That's that long, like tall, lanky plant over here on our left side. We've got some of the soap. We've got some of the syrup. And then I think at one point we had some lemonade, but that lemonade's gone from out of here. So yeah, you guys are welcome to get in there, take a look at whatever you want. They're so dialed with their processes and our brand of knowing what sells and what they want that they can just kind of call it out. Do this, do this, do that. That's super helpful for me and for what we're trying to do here, because if not, and I can't start selling until like, all right, we have final numbers, everything's done. It just extends that process of, okay, the week's getting over. In my opinion, from the time it gets trimmed, the race is not kind of on. I want to get that stuff out to you guys. I want to get it to their shelves. I want you to open that deli jar and be like, wow. You're like, that's it. Give me that. You know, you don't want any sort of like, yeah, that's not old or whatever. That's where we do pre-orders, where it's like, hey, this menu is not actually getting shipped for another 2 weeks. You know, but I want to know what you want so I can case pack all these things down for you, so you can get them out the door as fast as you can.
Oh, that's cool.
This is early flowers. We're going into week 2. We're not seeing a whole lot of flower development so far. These plants are just starting to stretch. Remember when we were on the other side, I told you guys, normally we wouldn't see space in between plants. So this is a room that has had less impact from us not having CO2 for 2 weeks. As you guys can see, these plants are all like flat, right? So they're flat canopy. You don't have some stuff up here, some stuff down here. That's by design to try to make sure everything gets the same amount of light and all that at every point of the canopy. Again, super important when you're watering everything at the same rate. You've got Delish over here, Pink Rose right here, plants right here, and Sangria, Snickerdoodle, all those. Those are Skittles variants, and you can see just by the size of the plant, you know, that is a lot more of a picky, kind of like bitchy plant, quite honestly. The guys do not like growing those. I don't love growing it, but it sells, so you gotta give people what they want.
I was just gonna ask that, like, would you prefer not to grow it, but people like
Yeah, I would
it?
totally prefer not to grow it.
Man.
Like it?
You know, there's enough demand for it, and quite honestly, there's only so many strains that like smell great, look great, taste great. You have to rotate these things often enough. We're trying to rotate everything once a year, you know, so we run it. Hopefully something else will come in that's better. We can get rid of it. We'll just keep moving on. Cranberry Skittles. Cranberry Skittles will do like 5% rosin. The solventless extract rosin, you can only run certain strains in it because each strain returns a different like wash number. Say we put 10,000 grams of the Lance and we wash that, right? We spin it, cold water and everything to collect it, and then we do it with the Pink Runs. Those would be a good comparison. Something like this will yield 3 to 4% of that wet material, which makes it economically viable. Something like this that would wash at like 1%, we'd have to charge 3 times the price for it to make sense. So certain plants are just not viable to run for extracts.
Is there something that makes it better, like in the plant?
Is the trichome, the head, and really how that develops. You want trichomes that are drier, like sandier, not slick. If it's slick, it does not wash well. The greasy's bad. Yeah, greasy's bad. You want like tacky.
Oh yeah, I keep stepping on it. I need to fix it. Look at all this beautiful stuff right here. This is pretty cool. Have you ever been in a place like this? I doubt it. Can't really hear what he's saying right now, but it is pretty cool to get me and all of this stuff. Look at that crazy shit. It's insane.
2 weeks of veg. So you can see between those two middle rows, genetic comparison. That had just as much time under the lights as the plants to the right. When we're going through genetics, you're looking at all these factors. Obviously, the most important end factor is how it smells. But you know, when you start going into some of these, you're looking at things like, what do we got to get rid of? If a plant like that doesn't smoke really good, it's kind of a pain in the ass. You know this throughout the room. If you see smaller plants like that, or like the Sangria, there's a reason they're around. They smoke good, or they wash well, or whatever. In an ideal world, you have all plants that grow like that, and have huge colas, and that all smoke good, but that just, unfortunately, is not the way it works collecting genetics. So we've actually got a couple crossings coming out. They've been in some of these rooms, but petrol fumes, kerosene candy, those are things that we cross in-house. So Syrup, one of our more popular strains, crossed with the Burnout, and then we found some strains off that.
What's the Syrup and the Burnout called?
Petrol fumes. So that was nice. It's just about to drop. It's getting trimmed this next week, so we'll probably drop it the next month. Subscribe to the email list and you'll know when it's coming out. And we're just trying to redo the menus all the time, going through QC on everything. It's me, my partner Tom, Jason at the lab, smoking weed throughout the week and whatnot, you know, asking each other to just criticize this stuff. So hopefully by the time it gets to you guys buying a bag of weed at the store, you know, it's something that everybody likes. It's a lot, man. A lot. But I got some praise coming in the sides here. The aisles get even more narrow back here, so.
Son of a bitch. I'm running into these things, which is why we're making weird progress here.
Appreciate you guys coming out. No, I can't stress it enough. I'm the guy that took you on the tour, obviously, but this thing has a lot of hands in it. We've got an awesome team here, so obviously, as you can see by the t-shirts, we're painting a lot more than just a couple of people. We've got probably, like I said, 30, 35 people just here, you know, between harvesting, post-harvest. We're very fortunate. Appreciate all your guys' support. Obviously, you guys care enough that you guys want to come out here and check it out. This has been like a dream of ours for years. You know, this goes back, we started doing weed in the early 2010s. This all started for me in a basement with some friends, and then moved to a pole barn, and then moved to a greenhouse. Before you know it, you know, we're in the facility that we're in today, and to be quite honest, it's kind of surreal in some aspects. It can't happen though without guys like you guys supporting us. So thank you guys for coming out, taking time out of the weekend to come share it with us.
Okay.
We appreciate you, Seth.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you. I did get all these. So, what do we take from the video that I just spent days editing? I got some notes. I just got done editing. I learned a bunch of new stuff about how to edit, how to blur, and how to color correct. Still have to add music and add this outro, obviously, but I thought I would come out here and film this and talk a little bit about my takeaways from the whole experience. It was awesome. It was near surreal to be filming something like what I get to watch on YouTube on a regular basis. It was really super cool, and I guess what I take away from the people, it was awesome to be around people that are so knowledgeable and care about what they do and about the product that they're putting out and about the people involved. It gave me a whole new appreciation for their attention to detail and just the community that they built. It was really super cool to be a part of this new weed tourism industry. It was super cool to go experience something new in a new place, and I enjoyed myself. I want to thank anybody who watched and made it all the way to the end of this video. I know there might have been some wonky colors in there. There might have been some weird stuff I left in the edit. I'm new to this, but each one I think is a little bit better. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for excusing all the bullshit that was in the video, I'm sure. Thanks a bunch.